The bad news is that in preparation for this video, I danced the Macarena. The good news is I'm not going to make you watch it. It's the song that never ends on episode 8 of Cultivate. Welcome back. This is the last installment of this video series, Spirit and Truth. And just by way of reminder, we have been spending time over the course of this series finding ways of following Jesus' instruction to worship God in spirit and in truth. Specifically, we've been trying to look through Scripture on instructions from God of how to worship God. And over these videos, we've been looking specifically at the book of Psalms, this one book that in the Bible that's full of worship, that's full of examples of worship, vocabulary of worship, and instruction about worship that we've been digging into for the last 8 weeks. We're going to wrap up today by reading the first 7 verses of Psalm 145. I'll go ahead and read those so we can have them in front of us. I exalt you, my God the King, and praise your name forever and ever. I will praise you every day. I will honor your name forever and ever. Yahweh is great and highly praised. His greatness is unsearchable. One generation will declare your works to the next and will proclaim your mighty acts. I will speak of your splendor and glorious majesty and your wonderful works. They will proclaim the power of your awe-inspiring acts, and I will declare your greatness. They will give a testimony of your great goodness and will joyfully sing of your righteousness. So the first observation I have here for us, and there's a lot to be made, but just for today, for right now, the first observation I had is that worship is forever. Time is a weird thing to think about, isn't it? Like for my kids, a week seems like it goes on forever. The distance between school starting on Monday and waking up Saturday free couldn't be any longer for them. It couldn't possibly be a longer wait for them. For me, that goes by in a blink of an eye, right? There were things that I thought were going to last forever. Like maybe you remember Pogs? But these were huge. I mean, everybody in my friend group thought, man, these are going to be the greatest thing ever. I'm going to keep my collection of Pogs forever. Or maybe you remember these Beanie Babies. Those were so huge. I think it's still going on. But you know, when they first came out, it was like this massive craze, and people were buying, emptying out stores with these things. We thought they were going to last forever. We thought it was going to be something people would be collecting forever. I thought people would be dancing the Macarena forever. When that first came out, it was such a craze. I remember a radio station that was only playing that song on repeat for about 2 weeks. Like anytime you turned onto that radio station, that was the song that was playing, right? Then I thought people might be dancing Gangnam Style forever. I never really thought that, but it felt like people were dancing Gangnam Style forever. It's strange when we look through history. There are very few really new trends, but also things just don't last that long, right? We move on. Sometimes history will repeat itself, but things generationally don't really last that long. When we say something's built to last, we're really thinking like a few hundred years. That'd be really impressive. That would be a really, really sturdy thing. That would be something that really lasts for a great deal of time. But things just don't last forever. Scripture tells us worship is uniquely different here. There is something built into worship that sets it apart. I will exalt you, my God, the psalmist wrote, we just read. I will praise your name every day, today, and I will honor it forever. It stretches off here into eternity. This is echoed by what we find, by the way, in Revelation. In the picture of eternity, we find examples of worship and celebration of God. There are very few clear pictures about eternity in Scripture, but the fact that we will be worshiping is one of them. And as we finish our study focusing on worship, let's be reminded first that when we worship, we're actually practicing for eternity. We're participating in something that's not a fad, and it's not even as short-lived as we are. You're doing something that will outlast anything you will see in this life. Worship is forever. And finally, friends, worship is also for now. Worship is forever, and also what we see in Psalm 145, worship is for now. Something else struck me here in this psalm, which is the inheritance of worship. Did you see that in Psalm 145? We read it. One generation, Lord, will declare your works to the next. He says, I will speak of your splendor so that they will proclaim the power of your acts. I will declare your greatness. They will give a testimony of your goodness. So listen, worship is for the Lord, but it's also a blessing to the world. It's the most life-giving thing you can do in creation around you. Jeremy Riddle wrote this. He said, whenever God is worshipped in spirit and in truth, his kingdom is established, his freedom reigns, and the works of the devil are destroyed. As a follower of Christ, you are a worshiper. You're also a sort of worship leader. You are the worship leader in your house. You are a worship leader in your job. If you're a follower of Christ, it is your place, it is my place to set the personhood and the presence of God as the thing that fills the space around us. I know maybe not everybody's on the same page with this illustration, but I love scented candles, particularly at this time of year in the fall and in the winter. I love the way they just kind of fill a home with a sense of warmth and just kind of this coziness, right? It makes me feel comfortable. In the same way, Christians set the tone around us. We set an atmosphere around us, but so much more than a scented candle. So much more even than a productive workplace. So much more even than a clean sink or a clean home. So much more than a fridge full of food. When you set a tone of worship around you, it creates the atmosphere and the opportunity for worship to continue, to be inherited by those around you. And I'm not saying it doesn't have to be combative or in your face or force-fed to people, but if you are a worshiper of God, the atmosphere of worship will be set around you. Followers of Christ declare the mighty works of God in our lives so that the next generation could do the same. Fill the space around you with the aroma of worship. And we've been talking about ways to do that. Maybe it's in music. Maybe it's in a sense of peace that you bring into conversations or into relationships. Maybe it's in conversations that you have with specific people, or maybe it's in acts of compassion that you're able to participate in. Be a worship leader in the space where you live. It is for the Lord, and it's a blessing to the world. I read this in my studies for this series. Somebody wrote, you are not part of a 5-year plan. You are part of a generational plan. May our generation join the long line of others who pass on the tradition and the truth of worship to those who are coming after them. That's it for this season of Cultivate. I hope you've enjoyed this series as much as I have. And now let's go out. Let's continue the journey of worshiping God in spirit and in truth.